toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. I've got my buddy Dave Croft here with me, and we are taking a look at the results of some polls that he ran on the G.I. Joe Facebook group, A Real American Hero 1982 to 1994, and these are the top 10 figures of 1993.
And what's really interesting is, in 93, there was 91 figures made.
That's crazy.
A crazy amount. I mean, kudos to Hasbro for producing that many in 1 year, but I think it starts to show in the results that we got.
So, 93, oddly enough, they sold, I believe, the most figures. Like, they made a ton of money on it, but yet it was basically the end of the line. It's a really odd dynamic that happened there at the end, and I would love to have a little bit more insight as exactly what happened, because they certainly started cutting corners on the figures, but they increased the number of variations on the peg. It's an odd supply and demand kind of thing that was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it worked out, but we're going to take a look at the top 10 figures today. So number 10, we've got Wild Bill. Here is a callback to the early days of the line. So I remember 93 looking at figures on the pegs. I was basically done with G.I. Joe. I still liked it as a brand. I still had all my old figures, but I had kind of moved on to other things. And I remember looking at the pegs and going like, wow, they did Wild Bill again. There were a few other characters they had come back to, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Wild Bill, to me, I wish they would have done a figure for him earlier. I thought it was interesting that they made a figure with the Dragonfly and then never revisited that figure at all. There's Ace is another one that they kind of really didn't do. Like, they did the 92 one, but it was like...
That's a really big gap.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Wild Bill got another figure. I can't say that I love this figure. I can't say, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I can't say I love the accessories. But I'm glad he got a figure.
Number 9, we've got Cyber Viper. Now, he's getting points for being an Arnie builder.
Yes.
But my gosh, is he the weirdest figure in the weirdest sub-team of G.I. Joe?
Yeah. I like this figure.
Okay.
I will say, his head in the face, weird. I know they're going out on a limb here. I get it. I mean, it's part of the Mega Marines, so it's, they're going out there with stuff. I like this figure. I Army build it. I think the sculpt is really interesting. I do think that they took some liberties on the head. I think if they would have maybe done that a little bit differently, I would have liked the figure a little bit more. But, that's personal taste.
Yeah, I'm not wild about him. I'm not a hater of Mega Marines in any sense. I feel like it was a great gimmick to go after with kids. Not necessarily super militaristic, but we had gotten so far from military at G.I. Joe at this point. But the Cyber Viper, just yellow and red, and it's very strange.
Yeah.
Number 8, we've got Mutton Junkyard. This is a repaint of the DEF version. Kind of pared him down. He's got a little bit of a life preserver vest going on, but he's not a bad version of the figure.
No, I think this figure is actually pretty cool. Again, not a huge fan of accessories, but I think this figure's sculpt is pretty cool. I think they did a good job. I'm not going to say a great job in the paint choices that they made, but a decent figure.
Number 7, we've got the update of Cross Country, because everyone was looking for another Cross Country. This time he's got a big old Confederate flag on the back of his vest. He's got a goofy backpack. I liked some of the vehicle drivers that we had in the old days, but it's sometimes funny when you take a vehicle driver and you just make them as a single card release. I guess it's good for people that don't get vehicles, but I don't think anybody that was buying Joes at this point was buying them back then. Like, it's just too big of a gap. So this was kind of his first introduction to a lot of people, I'm sure. He's just kind of a weird one.
Yeah,
but popular.
I have to say, I don't know someone who would have been a kid, would have gone to the toy aisle and been looking at the rack of the pegs of G.I. Joe and been like, I want that guy. Like, out of all of them, I mean, he made the top 10, so... Yeah. What do I know? But that's surprising to me.
Number 6, we've got Iceberg. This is the cool Extreme Sports version. He's got a yellow balaclava mask on and a nice snowboard.
I think the snowboard is actually a cool touch.
It's cool, because we had a lot of guys with skis before.
Yeah.
And we're now in the 90s. Extreme sports are very popular. Snowboarding has come out.
Yep.
I think he's cool.
Yeah, and I actually think that this figure, I'll put it this way, some of the better accessories for a figure from this year.
Yeah.
I think the sculpt is pretty good, and I think the colors that they chose for him is pretty good. Who would have thought you would add yellow and white? I mean, most people would think you're peeing in the snow, but, you know, it seems to work. They minimized the amount of yellow they used. Good for them.
Number 5 is a little surprising to me. I think this is more on the rarity side, is kind of helping him out more so than like this is a great figure. But we've got the Dino Hunter repaint of Ambush.
Yeah, because I would think maybe Lowlight would have been a better pick than the Ambush. But I don't know.
In a field of 91 characters,
Yeah.
how do you pick one to vote for? I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ambush. I do think the beard is a little strange on him, the way they did it, because it really seems pointy on him. I think he's a good figure. I do think, you know, like some other figures, you know, people fall into, oh, this figure is valuable, or it's worth a decent amount of money, so therefore it's one of my more favorites, or it's the one I'm chasing, or whatever. So I think that might have influenced some of this voting. But I think this figure's decent. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's the greatest, but I think it's a decent, solid figure.
Number 4, this is a great sculpt, but God, is it a bad paint scheme. We've got the Mail-Away Interrogator.
So it's interesting, because when I first saw this paint scheme, I thought it was kind of bad. But this paint scheme, I don't know what it is. It's grown on me.
Okay.
I think it's funny that he has this really itty-bitty tiny knife. It is the smallest knife I think anyone has in the entire line. I mean, granted, that knife is shared with another figure, but I just think it's interesting that it's Interrogator and he's got this tiny knife. It's like, I'm going to poke you.
It's
like
Peter Pan fighting Captain Hook.
Yeah. But, again, you know, as we talked before about Interrogator, that figure mold, the sculpting is great. I don't know about the paint that they chose, those colors. I'm okay with them. I don't love them, but I don't hate them.
So in number 3, we've got another army builder, and army builders always do well on these lists. We have a repaint of a version 2.
Yes.
So version 3 here of the Snow Serpent, but from the Arctic Commando mail-away set. I actually really like this figure.
Me too.
I think he looks really good.
Yep.
Maybe better than the version 2 release, where, you know, version 2 had a lot of purple to him, and this one is just kind of like a nice sky blue. It looks good for a snowtrooper.
Yeah, I think this is a solid figure. I'm a little surprised that it's as high as it is.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just a reflection of the other figures that are offered in 93. But to me, again, I think this sculpt is really good. I don't mind the paint colors that they chose. I think it's a nice addition to the line.
I do want to say at this point, though, with 1993, we had 91 releases. A lot of the figures, if you look at them carefully, their upper halves are new and their lower halves are repaints of other figures. And so, did Hasbro go, okay, we normally put out this many figures and we spend this much on tooling. If we only tool half a figure, we can double the amount of figures we crank out. And that was a little lazy. They were doing a lot of the weapons trees at this point. Pretty much everybody did a weapon tree, and it was rare for someone to have a unique one. Like Iceberg, who we mentioned, came with his own one. But a lot of them had repeated ones. So they cut a lot of corners, and it's interesting that some of these guys that are doing well are actually repaints in this year of cut corner figures.
Yeah.
So the number 2 figure, Army Builder again, neon colors abound. We've got Mega Viper.
Yeah.
I actually like this guy.
I do too.
Yeah, I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think this figure, they did a good job on everything with this figure. I can't complain much about this figure. Again, another figure that I Army build. So I know not everyone would love it. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's a cool figure.
He looks great in a toned-down paint scheme, too, because he was a club exclusive at one point, right, with one of the sets, and I think that looks really good as well. It's a cool, just kind of faceless, you know, he could have been an eco-warrior, basically. He's got a very kind of, like, hazmat suit look to him.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good one.
Yeah.
The number 1 figure, we've got another Army Builder. I mean, really, this year it was Army Builders and lousy repaints. But this guy is really cool.
Really cool.
I don't know how you decide to, like, do a second round of this weird subset, but we've got the Headhunter Stormtroopers.
Yeah, yeah.
So this year saw a repaint of the Headhunter Troop Builder plus this new Elite Headhunter Stormtrooper figure, and they really knocked it out of the park.
They did.
It's an amazing figure. I mean, his accessories are just a weapon tree and a missile launcher. Really, that stuff's junk. And that's the only thing that makes me think he's not as good as the original Headhunter figure, who had all unique stuff. But, man, it's a wicked-looking figure.
Oh, this figure, I mean, the things that they dreamed up with this character to sculpt it, and then they did it. Not only did they do a really great job on sculpting and creating this idea of this figure, the paint that they chose to use for this figure, I mean, I can't complain at all. They did a really good job on it. They picked the right colors. This figure is intimidating. It comes across that way.
He's one of the least 93 figures
of
all of 93.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't come with those accessories, you'd think he came maybe 1990.
Yeah. In the comments down below, let us know what your thoughts are on 1993. Did we leave out your favorite Star Brigade guy? Interesting they didn't really make the list.
No.
Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. And make sure you check back for 1994.